Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tavern Talks, episode 206. And tonight we have Eleanor from Foibles and Fables, which is a wonderful way to say that. And we're going to talk about some of their experiences here in the tabletop world, how some of their amazing stories that they've been able to tell and play in, and all that fun stuff. But before we do, let's do some quick housekeeping real fast. Sponsors for the week. Our usual is Monument Studios, which you'll hear back in the background as soon as I turn it on, because I promise, a professional studio here. And where we share all of the amazing sounds that they provide for us. You can go over there and get an extra, by utilizing the code MISFIT, you can get an additional 30% off or 3 months for your subscription. Our dice sponsor for the year is Canadian Dice. And we also have an apparel company known as DungeonGrandmaster.com. And last but not least, our wonderful friends over at Last Hope Printing that give us a whopping 40% off their order, off any order using the code MISFIT, and that can be for paints and minis, which is huge. Last but not least, because it's something we have to bring up, the website has been launched. TabletopMisfits.com is officially live. You can go out and check out all of the different programs that we're running this year, along with a little bit of bio from each of us. We also have a brand new merch store, and our sponsors will be starting to arrive up there as well. So yeah. Also, we have another sponsor that's coming. I don't have the code for it right now, so I don't know which one that is, but it's an upcoming, fully set up streaming service that allows you to have voice, video, captions, all that stuff built all into one. And it takes a little bit more off of your system because it runs at a cloud level. And we're looking forward to that. That's all because of our friend over there, Shadow Down. Since I see him in the chat, shout him out again for that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm just glad you didn't say that we made all the stuff for Monument.
No, we did not make all the stuff from Monument. Absolutely not.
Secretly, we're behind the scenes.
We are not behind the scenes on that at all. But let's get into what we come here for, which is to talk about our guest, which is awesome. Eleanor, can you just kind of give us a breakdown of what you do in this space?
Absolutely. I am essentially a performer for hire. I appear on other channels as a player, occasionally as a GM. My main gig right now is with Harlequin's Hallowed Hearth. I am the GM of an original AP that I created called An End to Hunger. It is a gothic horror story utilizing Pathfinder 2E as its system, and we have an all-femme cast.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. We're going to dig into each one of those after we figure out a little bit about Eleanor, because that's one of the cool things about this is we're going to dive back to the beginning, back to where it all began.
Okay.
And so the
this regression therapy?
Do
I have to like wrap myself in a blanket?
I mean, if you need to.
Okay.
I like
my emotional support blanket.
I like blanket wrapping. So
my Snuggie's right over there, so I'm ready.
You're ready to go. Awesome. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what was your first ever experience with tabletop game?
So my first tabletop game was online with one of my partner's friends. He really wanted to run some Pathfinder 1E because this was, several years ago. And the module that he ended up kind of like railroading us into is Carnival of Tears. Carnival of Tears is an infamous Pathfinder 1E module. It is not for the faint of heart.
Oh.
I think it really represents, like, Pathfinder First Edition used to be, I mean, the edges have very much been sanded off now on the lore and the world, which overall I think is a good thing, because you can always throw in, the little bits and bobs in your own story if you want to, but the official setting being, much more, user-friendly or whatever, I appreciate. But we didn't know we were walking into that module, and it was quite traumatizing.
No.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate that my friends at the time, they heard about it and they were like, we actually have an extra space at the table. Do you want to try Pathfinder, whatever, and it was night and day different. We were doing Rise of the Rune Lords, which is the very first AP that Paizover published several years after it was published. But the GM was incredible and incredibly nurturing. So we went from, this first experience, a pit to a peak of that. But that was my first year of playing tabletop games, was exclusively Pathfinder.
Okay, so Pathfinder was your intro.
Mhm.
And what then? Because it sounds like you got lucky, and I say this in a very weird, a very unique way, but it sounds like your first experience was not a great experience, but you were instantly pulled to a great experience.
Yes.
So what then, other than maybe being that your friends asked you to, what was the reasoning to try it again for you?
I had been learning about tabletop. I'd known about it for a while. I didn't know anybody who played in high school. It was weird. I was like friends with like all the weird gothy kids. So you'd think we'd be rolling dice every night. We really weren't. We were very much more online creatures. Like we were like MySpace, fiends. That was more our thing. We didn't really do IRL stuff. Yeah, writing on our live journals and writing fan fiction, and that was much more our thing. So I started learning more about tabletop by the time I was in my early 20s, mostly through the Spoony one from from that guy with the glasses doing Counter Monkey. And I dated a guy who had played like in college, and we broke up before we could ever really start playing. But that was what sort of piqued my initial interest in it, was listening to all the different stories that Spoony would tell and all the different systems that he played too was really cool, like Shadowrun and then D&D and some other systems as well that of course are escaping me. So that was sort of my soft launch into it. And it's funny, I actually started playing the same year that Critical Role started, but I didn't watch Critical Role. But my very first character was named Trig Taliesin, spelled like Taliesin Jaffe.
Oh,
and
wow.
I knew who Taliesin was because he was the director of Hellsing Ultimate. So I knew Taliesin through that. That's how I knew him. And Taliesin is also a name in like the Merlin, the Arthurian lore. So my mom had a series of books that was Taliesin, Merlin, Arthur. So I'd seen that name growing up my whole life. So it's funny years later when I knew about Critical Role and said, oh my God, I know that guy, and then I still have that connection of my first character has a D&D-esque kind of
right. That's awesome. And the unique thing about the whole Critical Role staff is most of the staff met through anime voiceovers. Like that's how they built that entire crew. So we went from we had Pathfinder, and then we moved to Pathfinder, and then we started kind of branching off and trying some new things.
Yeah.
When or has it yet? Because I'm not sure. When did you decide it's time to step to the other side of the screen and start game mastering?
So I ended up moving back home. When I started playing, I lived in Pittsburgh, which is fabulous city. Loved living there. I lived 10 minutes from downtown in Squirrel Hill, which is a wonderful neighborhood. So when I moved back, I was looking for, IRL gaming to do. I ended up joining an all-fem game. And then my partner started GMing. And so essentially me GMing was giving him a week off. So that's how I started to dip my toes into it. And then from that, I realized how, what an itch that scratched of being able to create stories and create characters and to perform multiple characters and to nurture the player's stories and knit things together in a very satisfying way. So there are things I love about doing both. I love being a performer and I love being a GM. I think they fulfill different things for me. But yeah, I really started kind of just as a relief pitcher.
Hey, you know what? For the people that do that for RGMs out there, thank you. You know, for somebody who was a forever GM for many, many, many years, and then somebody comes along and goes, "Hey, do you want me to run a game for a little bit?" Like, take it. And then you get bored and you go back to being a GM for a while because you're like, this is not as fun as it was. But there is a very cathartic ideal behind just being able to run one player at a one character to its max.
Completely.
You know, being able to dive into every single emotion, every single thought process of a single person rather than trying to dive into every single thought process and every single emotion for 19 characters. And you're like, this
and also narrate.
Yeah.
That's
and make sure that they
hard.
make together and that you're not, characters don't seem to feel the same. And
yeah,
it's a lot. So thank you for being that person, because that is for your partner specifically, that's had to be a treat for them. So then, since we've kind of got your background of how tabletop started, how did we go from tabletop to now a P performer?
So that was something that I hadn't really considered for a long time. I went to school for acting specifically. That's my concentration. I graduated in the recession, and my family was not in a position to be able to support me, which is a real shame. So I spent my 20s working a lot and having a very low creative output, which was a shame. There were a lot of things that I thought about doing, but to be perfectly honest, I did not have the kind of confidence in myself to do it, which is it really sucks. I wish that I could like inject through time, just, get over yourself, because honestly, I feel like, there could have been a lot of things that I could have done, that just didn't end up happening. But years go by and, you become more stable and you become, you understand yourself better and your world better and all of that. And I started making friends through gaming, and they were in the performing world, and they basically finally had to put, their hands on both sides of my face and say, "Eleanor, it's time. Go do it." So they pushed me to start performing again, and I did some shows, and that was really wonderful. I got to direct some stuff, and I really started thinking about like how I wanted to perform. And at the same time, I was also starting to GM for other people and starting to do organized play, and then started to do original stories for people who weren't my friends. And so it really was this perfect cocktail of like, okay, I think this is it. I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just kind of put myself out there. My first show that I ever did was on Harlequin's Hallowed Hearth on the Hail to the Heroine series, which is an all-femme one-shot series, which is actually coming back on Saturday. So definitely don't miss out on that. But yeah, so they took a chance on me. It was fabulous. So much fun. I ended up GMing something for them. And then started appearing on other channels. And then when they wanted to do their first long-term series, Harley reached out to me and said, "Would you do it?" And I was wrapping up An End to Hunger with my IRL group. And I said, I would love to do this again with an all-femme cast now, because I had all boys, and my boys were fabulous. They were, half of them were fathers. They were all, wonderful guys, and they surprised me so many times with how they played in the most wonderful way. But the chance to do the story of An End to Hunger, and if you watch it, you'll see why. With an all-femme cast was too much it was too great of an opportunity, and to actually codify it, because I would tell my friends stories about the table that was going on. They're like, set up a camera. Like, I want to see this happening. Well, now you can see it happening.
That's awesome. It's unique too. So one of the things I've always been very interested about is when you build a cast that is it is one demographic, what you will get differently compared to a multi-demographic or a different demographic. What was the one thing that you were really looking forward to in this story specifically, having an all femme cast this time?
I think some of the nuances. I am a performer first. That
Mhm.
is my main focus as a GM. I do like to think of sometimes my stories as like visual novels or like live action video games because I want you to have that level of connection. I script a lot. Like I'll do like video game prompts, like when you go in an RPG and it says like the baker, the woods, spooky noise. Like I will do that for you
Mhm.
so that if you ask me about that, I have exactly what you need to know. And of course I love to improv too and make up stuff on the spot, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you that information in a
Mm.
way that is enjoyable to watch and to listen to. So I think that is something that I was really looking forward to doing with a cast is the subtle ways that I speak or move my face or word choices or the way characters move. I was really interested to see how those signals would be received by an all femme cast as opposed to an all male one.
And you had already done an all male cast in this same. They were
Yes,
just not.
same story. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I see why now. Okay. Um, is there anything in that moment where, because a lot of GMs nowadays are GMing the same table multiple different times at conventions and things like that. Is
Sure.
there anything that almost shocked you about having the two different casts?
A couple things actually,
Okay.
yeah. One thing is I like to say I've got one NPC with 100% kill rate. Technically they haven't killed him yet, but the first time I introduced this NPC, my boys literally were like, I had introduced this NPC with my goal was they would listen to him talking, and that would sow seeds of doubt in them about this other NPC.
Mm.
Not the case. They listen to this dude talk and they're like, we follow him into a dark alley and we suck his soul out of his body. And I'm like, you got it. I love you, my boys. And so then we had now it's the girls' turn at bat, and the guy is talking, and they literally Harley is like, I make a very detailed description in my book about what this person looks like. And we will be meeting this person again. We will be having a conversation. And I said, noted. But yeah, the parallels, a lot of the parallels for spoilers' sake, I can't really get into, but a couple of the choices that the players made when they were building their characters and the way there's 4 of them and there were 4 of my boys, each one has an analog, which I was not expecting at all. Like the kind
Oh,
of
they
parody.
connected every
Mhm,
time. That's
mhm.
cool.
Everybody's got their reflection, which is really fun. One of the players from my original game, who is cameraman Groucho, or Game Daddy. Um, so having played it once before, he and we will talk about those similarities after every session and the differences between the two, because I try not to give too much away to the players as to like how it was the first time, and they know that they can do whatever they want. They are not replaying an old
Right.
story. They're not a cover band. They are just as much an original.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting though, that even though you didn't say anything, you have a parallel group,
It's
legit
super.
parallel group.
I mean, like choosing the same weapons
Oh wow.
freaked me
Good
out.
team.
Freaked me out. I was like, did I do this? Am I like 3D chessing? Am I like Anakin Skywalkering them into like doing it? I'm like,
Choose the sword.
Literally.
Choose this thing. Choose
Literally.
that thing. Or what is it like those things you go online and you're like everybody pick to get to certain things. You got to pick like 12 different things. And you
Yes, the BuzzFeed quiz so that you end up marrying the person that you want. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Every time. So here's an interesting question then. So out of the people that were paralleled, did you expect that with the personalities of both of those individuals?
I think the biggest difference is the personalities.
Mm.
It's more like almost like function in the story. The girls, my gals are, it's funny, are much more willing to play ball, I would say. Whereas the boys were, they wanted to kind of interface with everything on their own terms. They also were less collaborative with one another. I told them when it was all over, I was like, you guys could have solved this a lot faster if you hadn't all hid information. But they would have like side conversations with different NPCs and then never come back together to debrief. You know, which was great for me because I'm like, I'll keep you dancing for as long as I can.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that
you're like,
almost
oh,
kind
you're
of
just
worries me
giving me
now.
more fuel.
Exactly. So that kind of worries me now going into it again. I'm like, oh my God, these girls are actually like, they trust each other and like each other. And oh God, they're gonna sniff me out really quick. Like I gotta throw more stuff at them to like keep them on their toes.
That's interesting. And it's really it like I said, it's a unique idea to run the exact same beginning, I would say, because we never know if the end's going to change because of how everything could happen.
Yeah.
But to seeing all of the similarities and whatnot, I know I've said this a couple times on the channel before, like that's one of my goals over the next couple of years is to run an all femme cast because I've never had every single one of my players be a lady, which would be awesome. Because I do feel like there is a different thought process. There's a different mentality that comes with it. Because like our Dress to Quest crew is very split. We have 3 and 3 usually. Some of ours we have more femme, some we have more but it's I've never had a full cast.
Yeah, for sure. I think something really important to keep in mind is don't like anticipate what the differences are going to be. You know, femme casts and femme parties can be just as lethal, ruthless, dumb. Quite frankly, like as any mixed table or all male table, truly. The differences are a lot subtler, and honestly, if you really had to break it down, I would say the differences are outside, they are above table, not necessarily within the realm of the fiction of the story.
Well, I love that too. Me and actual Sam had a conversation about some things like that when I had one of the characters in one of his games die. And he was like, man, you know, I'm so sorry. And I said, Sam, you don't have to do that. We're just acting on this. Like, I understand that. And so I proposed to him one time, I would love to have a game where we play it twice, like one shots, but it's the same one. And in those 2 one shots, people play completely opposite characters. And what is the outcome of that?
Right.
And that's how I was talking to him about it is, for me, the way that I do it is I get in the head of the character and go from there. So if we play the same game, but I'm playing a different character, it will always be different.
You have to. You really do. As a player, and I'll do that sometimes at the table when I'm thinking something that I know my character isn't. A lot of times I'll call it out and be like, maybe another character is thinking this. And if nobody else is, that's fine. You know, like in terms of like strategy or in terms of leverage or, you know, a way to approach a puzzle or an obstacle. But I really do try when I play to look through the eyes of my character and react as them and analyze the situation as them as much as I can, to the point where I've had GMs be like, oh, wasn't that cool when this, that, or this, they said this, and I look like, what do you mean? Like, because I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was thinking about it as my character, you know.
Well, here's and this will actually probably be very helpful for anybody who's done this or had to deal with this in a game. As an actor, we are taught to put a role on. What are some tips that you would have to putting on a role where the character is actually smarter than the player?
Ooh.
Because being dumber than the player is sometimes very easy to play.
Yes, so easy, so easy. To honestly rely on the mechanics of the game, you know, truly. Because once you are fed something, you can play it. You know, if I ask you, you know, what's the capital of Vermont? I don't know. It's Montpelier. What's the capital of Vermont? Montpelier. You're the smartest person in the world. You know all the capitals, right?
Right.
It's just the knowing that's important. So if you're playing a character who's smarter than you, you have to be true to that character, use the mechanics of the game to get it, use the GM as much as possible, not, you know, brute forcing them to tell you, but just little things like, what would my character be noticing? Or is there anything about this room that seems off or odd? We actually, in Pathfinder, for the investigator, there's a feat you can take called That's Odd. And every time you walk into a room, the GM has to tell you, this looks wrong, if there is such a thing to be found. So it's a perfect workaround for a player to be able to have the game supporting the choices that they're making without having to. And it's exactly the same like if you're playing a high charisma character and you don't feel that charismatic, just narrate it.
Right.
You know? Roll to seduce, whatever. Like, it's fine. Like, we're playing a game at the end of the day. We're not, you know, we're not really doing Shakespeare. I mean, if you want to, I can and I will. I can and I will. I've done it before and I'll do it again. At a certain point, you have to have you gotta have the lines, you know, you have to have the engine to be able to convey it.
Well, and I also think that that's another breakdown that you have to go into, because if you're saying that you want a character that's just intelligence, well, what's your flavor of intelligence?
Right.
You know, mine could be book smart, while Eleanor's could actually be street smart. So how do we approach that gap of how you see
wisdom,
intelligence?
That's wisdom to intelligence. There's a difference.
Sometimes.
I know, but you're absolutely right. And some characters are so quote unquote smart, they miss a lot of stuff because they're leaping to conclusions because they are usually basically just using, you know, confirmation bias to get where they need to go. I think the trope of the character who is, you know, very highly intelligent but not emotionally intelligent, I think that you know, is very fun in these tabletop stories. I don't think it's well worn quite yet. I think there's still a lot of meat on that bone.
Oh yeah. The other thing is that let's flip it the opposite way, because I know we said it's easy, but it can be very difficult to play a dumb character or a less intelligent character than you're playing, because we hit that mentality between roll as ROLE and roll as an ROLL. So what are some tips on that? Because that's going to be something that's going to be for a lot of players as well. For instance, I mean, because people know about it, and we're just going to throw it out there. But Travis Willingham is not dumb in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But played Grog like an idiot. Like,
get out of my head. That's exactly
the biggest piece of advice, and this is something you get directly from acting school. You can't play a negative. You can't play dumb, really.
Right.
Unless it becomes, you know, a complete whatever. So focus on what your character is. I played a character, a barbarian, who had been possessed from the ages of 6 to about like 14. So she wasn't stupid, but she was very childlike. So that was my way in. And she was incredibly brave and extremely selfless. So by focusing on those character traits of her, Chloe was her name, Chloe Firefist, I was able to convey that she wasn't smart by focusing on those things. Like the first time the party met her, because she'd been ported over from another group, and they were saying about like using the ship or whatever, and I said yes, and I'll stand on the top of the mast and I'll swing my warhammer and we'll defeat them. And they're like, yeah. and then out of table they're like, isn't she like 19? Like what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, maybe you guys should be concerned about this. Because I played her like a little girl.
Right.
You know, and then that also gives you some place to go where, you know, the more we went through the story and the more we learned like who possessed her and why. And, you know, she essentially, I described it as there were tunnels in her mind where the thing that had possessed her was now gone, but the synapses were still there. So throughout the course of the adventure, she was essentially retracing her own mind to the point where eventually she caught up with that age. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. If you're playing a dumb character, don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive attributes or what your character really cares about. A lot of characters who are quote unquote dumb, we see this in the real world, they get extremely frustrated and angry by things that they don't have the nuance to understand. Right. That is very easy to play without being stupid. A lot of stupid characters think that they're actually quite smart, right, in reality, and you guys are all stupid. You know, it's the same as playing crazy. You don't play crazy by being crazy. You play crazy by being the sanest person in the room. One of my college professors actually said that I have a unique ability to play crazy. I don't know if he meant that as a compliment. I hope he did.
Oh my goodness. We'll have to see that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. Because like I said, for me, it's being able to play a character at a level that the stats are compared to playing the character at the level that you are. And I love the idea that you stated, don't ever focus on the negative, just focus on what is the most important to that character. For instance, like I said, I mean, if we base it back to Critical Role, because it's a known thing for people, Grog would be that he likes to protect people and he likes to fight. So right. As long as we put those two things at the front, it seems like he's a dummy, but then there's moments where he does make decisions that would be kind of bright. Or for Chloe's sake, like you said, it's more of a childlike mentality than it was. She wasn't dumb. She just hadn't experienced the world as much
exactly. Was learning. Yeah.
She was learning.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the last things, slight spoiler for season 3, if anybody's seen the show, but when Grog pulls out the card for the unicorn, he's like, oh, it's a unicorn.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I love that. That works. So, such a golden moment.
Yeah. Season 4 has got some good moments too. So, I mean,
yeah.
But
well,
yeah.
and one thing that we also touched on too is like getting to step behind and I guess moving around the table where you're a player, and that one of it in my games, I'm a changeling. And the changeling actually takes on more of a childlike role where they shrink themselves down and everything, and looks like every other character in the party at different moments and fits a different role for those. So one of them, when I look like him, I call him Papa. And like him and I play it off like we're father and son. But then at other times I swap over to somebody else and they're like, yeah, this is like my little brother. Like it changes so drastically.
Right.
And getting to do a changeling, I think, is the closest one you could be as a DM, because you're still getting to like jump around and play all the roles that you would without saying this is just the one character I'm playing. I can be complex, and instead of actually having to be that way in my mind, I can let it come out on this character's skin.
Right.
Very much.
And in a larger way. Yeah. Like I said, you can dive into that character as long as you want, and then you just change the face, change the clothing, and now you're a new character.
Yeah.
The question is though, is who are you on who is your core, because that will dictate everything, no matter
Mhm.
what.
Yeah, it's the center of the wheel that everything else
Yeah.
spokes from.
Speaking of the center of the wheel and where things come from,
Okay.
I know it is arriving. We'll see if it works this time, because every once in a while I click the button and it gives this like shimmer sound.
Okay.
Oh no, here it comes. The monster has arrived.
Oh no!
I suggest when the show is over and you're interested, go listen to this thing. It's terrifying. I love it, and it probably scares everybody in the chat room.
Sure.
All right, so tonight, one of the things we do here is we do in the monster attacks is we talk about a monster, and that monster we're going to break down what it is as much as we can. We're going to come up with unique ideas together on how to utilize this monster, maybe not in a way that you've ever heard before. We've done this for a lot of monsters, more so than I had expected, and this worked out really well. So, Eleanor, what monster are we tapping into tonight?
Well, I was very tempted to say Gritty, but I love Gritty. If I ever do a monster effer game, Gritty's going to be on the menu. But no, it is.
I don't know what Gritty is.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna clue you in. I'll just let that be a mystery. Because when you see it later, you're gonna be like, "What is wrong with this woman?"
Oh, that thing. Okay. I know what it is.
Anyway, the monster I've chosen is the Revenant.
The Revenant. So, the Revenant is actually kind of a newer monster, if I'm not mistaken, or has it had older?
It's an old trope. There really isn't I can't think of a ready-made kind of analog. I would say probably Pet Sematary is your closest horror analog to what a Revenant is. But essentially what a Revenant is a dead body that is internally so fueled with purpose that they spontaneously rise again to finish. So they're almost like a ghost with their unfinished business, but with a corporeal form and a lot more free will than a ghost who usually is trapped in some sort of cycle.
Okay. So that's interesting, because I mean, really, we have quite a bit of things we can play with this then, because the fact that it's based on purpose. To start, Jacob, have you used a Revenant before?
I've used something like a Revenant.
Okay. How did you use it?
I used it where it was kind of like a pirate captain or like a cowboy, like back from the dead, just trying to like finish off something. Because they had this where it kind of crosses over into almost a lich. They had like a phylactery that if it was in their grave with them, they like would keep it and they would stay dead. But once somebody like came and grave robbed them, they took it and they came back because they're like, I need this piece to be whole again so I can have my eternal slumber.
Interesting.
So in the terms of it, for like the cowboy, somebody had taken a gun, and in terms for the pirate, it was the hat.
Okay.
Nice.
So they were like, yeah, let's take this stuff, and they were like, no.
You absolutely won't.
I mean, it gives it's the same mentality as, Revenant. Another very tropey version of Revenant would be the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Very good option.
Much.
The cursed items, this has been taken. Now, these kings can't die until this is resolved.
Exactly.
What's a way you've used yours, Eleanor?
I've only used Revenants as player characters. Honestly, I haven't used a Revenant. I had in the first run of An End to Hunger, I had a character who was a gunslinger. And there's a Revenant variant in Pathfinder called, I think it's called the Pale Stranger. And that specifically is a Revenant who is determined to duel somebody. and even though somebody else won, they will not rest until they get to duel this person. So that was a concept that I had, because End to Hunger, again, it's gothic horror. I was looking at different monsters that I could add to the game, but that player decided to swap out characters. So I never ended up using Pale Stranger, Pale Disarray. I forget exactly what the term is, but I've played a Revenant before. I was a investigator, a cleric of Ogma, but I flavored them as an investigator in 5e, and they were murdered. And one of the other player characters essentially brought them back to life. Their entire midsection had been souped, essentially. So they essentially cut me into 3 pieces and then put pig guts in the middle and then sewed everything up again. And then I woke up. Yay!
Yay!
So and just went right back to work, essentially. And then the other Revenant character that I had, there's a variant heritage in Starfighter 2e called a Borai, and that is essentially a half undead. So basically, you have died, and then you come back in whatever heritage you were before. Now you're a Borai. So it's essentially the same thing. I was a Corpo Scum, agent of Abadar Corp, and I was up for a promotion, and the other person who was up for it murdered me.
Oh,
and
well,
I was
awesome.
not going to let that stop me from getting my promotion. So came back, did what I had to do, and then, made sure that they got reassigned to an ice planet somewhere.
Right. Because that's what they need to do.
Exactly.
I think it's interesting because I like the way we are talking about the Revenant more so than how Dungeons and Dragons has the Revenant.
Yes.
Because it means more. A Revenant in Dungeons and Dragons states that it's based on revenge only.
Yeah.
It's based on the idea that they cannot rest until they seek to punish. Their seek to punish is no more. And I get that, and that's fine, but it's kind of bland. Not gonna lie.
Revenge, that most worthless of causes.
Well, and I like the idea of having a really redeeming quality, but at the same time also going through that stress part. There's a manga that I love called The Other Side of Secret. It's got a weird name to it. The art style for it is great, but essentially you have this character that's almost like a father figure that has died, and he comes back as he's a demon, but for lack of better terms, he kind of seems like a tiefling, how he looks. And he comes back and he actually has lost all his memories except for the one solid memory of protecting this girl. We'll come to find out he's protecting her because that was one of the last things that he remembers coming into his sight.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got the thing of his kid, even though his kid had died. So it's this memory is what I remember. So to protect this person to a point where I can go on when they're safe is how this character is kind of built.
Yeah, that's very much it. I really love characters who endure, and are able to carry on. I love heroic characters who are willing to take on the less heroic tasks to make sure that the heroes stay somewhat whole and intact. So I think that's one of the reasons why a Revenant appeals to me so much, is because of that internal sense of self and that internal fire that death cannot snuff. So I I guess if it's a monster we're supposed to fight, I almost feel like it's more of a helper NPC character, if nothing else. But yeah, Revenants can absolutely be villains, especially if you've wronged them, for sure. You can absolutely run afoul of them through no fault of your own.
Yeah. So now we're going to kind of break this down a little bit. So the idea is, what's a unique way then for us to utilize a Revenant, either as an NPC or a monster, that bases it off of an undeniable sense of purpose? What do we think? Because there's a lot of ways we can utilize this one.
Oh, sure.
Well, so I
Because
have
I'm
a
going to
question.
throw out the D&D version.
I have a question right before this then that I
Sure.
want to ask both of y'all.
Sure.
When a reverend has its second death, that's what I'm just going to call it.
Yeah, sure.
Should it be a bang or a whisper?
I think it depends on, well, they can't finish until they will rise again until the goal is completed. Um I can see it going both ways. A whisper is satisfaction and a bang would be, oh, that wasn't really what I wanted in the end.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and I think that's another reason why I like divorcing it from the idea of revenge, is because revenge is so hollow at the end. It's not really what you wanted. Um Vengeance, I think, is a little bit different.
Mhm.
I think you can find some satisfaction in vengeance, but revenge almost implies that the perpetrator is not always the one who's getting the comeuppance. Revenge
Yeah.
often falls to others who are guilty by association, whereas I feel like vengeance is much more focused on the perpetrator, the wrongdoer.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I also think this comes back to an old. I can't even think of where I remember the story, but it's the samurai who sat on the side of the road and protected everyone that was traveling the road, and people didn't realize that even after so many years, the samurai just died there, but his body is still doing what it's told to do.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah, a guardian figure.
yeah.
Um, Absolutely. And I think that is probably the a good, like, a way for a party to meet a monster and then to learn more about it.
Mm,
And maybe it's because I am, running a gothic horror story that does have a lot of undead characters who are various places on the spectrum of, like, evil to good. Not that we use alignment anymore in Pathfinder, but as we've said a million times, just because Pathfinder doesn't have alignment doesn't mean we don't have good and evil. That still
that
exists.
does still exist.
But the impulse of An End to Hunger is to humanize the condition of undeath and to not normalize it, but to empathize with the hunger, which
Mhm.
is innate to all undead creatures. It takes on various forms depending on what form of undead that they are. Um, so yeah, what a revenant hungers for is completion and release and rest,
Mm,
whether that is through exacting their revenge or exacting their vengeance or just finishing the task
their task at hand.
and being able to rest finally. I think every undead hunger has an analogy to something that we as mortals deal with. And I think the reason that monsters are monsters is because it's easy to demonize a lot of
Mhm.
those parts of ourselves. And, like, a lot of people, particularly women, are encouraged not to hold on to their anger, not to hold grudges, not to gossip, not to rock the boat, or protest when things are done to them or lines or boundaries are crossed.
Right.
So a revenant is an undeniable artifact of some things cannot be put aside. Some things cannot be, sometimes we can't live and let live. Sometimes we die and live again.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
Yeah.
so it's satisfying to have a character who cannot be denied
Mm,
until they say when it's over, when I say it's over. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it.
no, they have the authority no matter what.
See, and I like that idea too, especially on screen, of having, like, if somebody is playing character where maybe they have like a husband that's like being mean to them or something or hurting them, and then their mom, who was more outspoken, comes back as a reverend, and it's she wasn't strong enough to say it, but I won't, you know.
Right.
And then you find out like, hey, the husband's dead. Like, what's going on?
Right.
And you just like everybody that watched the show, they know like this is what happened.
Completely. I think in Game of Thrones, it never ended up being in the show, but Lady Stoneheart is a revenant, very much so. She's resurrected rather than it being of her own accord, but yes, she is a mother without children, and the horror of what that is. It's a mother's rage without the mother's love. You know, because she has nobody to give her love. She only has the rage. There is no satisfaction there.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's real good. Yeah, no, these are really unique ways to use a revenant. I think these are not what you'll see in a module. These aren't what you're going to see just out in the open. When you start deep diving into what this creature or thing or being is, there's some very unique ways to tell a very deep story on a character or on a person.
And if you like stories like that, come watch my show. An End to Hunger, Jacob, particularly episode 3, Lest Ye Be Left to Captain Kai. I think you would enjoy that NPC very much.
Excellent.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Good plug there. I like it.
So organic. I don't know how I do it.
It's like we did it.
Well, and I also like the idea too, if you could have a character that's actually part of the main cast of people as a reverent of like one of the players, like as a sibling or something, and you give them such a basis that, and you have to give it more than I just want to protect this person, I want to do that. You have to give it a little more than that. And so you have this whole thing, you know, and the player knows that they're playing this kind of reverent that's of this person's sibling that goes all the way to the end of the campaign, and then somehow they find that loophole that gives them the ability to pass on.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, I think with siblings, I actually don't have any siblings myself, so I observe you guys like you know, animals in the wild. But there is very much a push and pull of how much it's Cain and Abel. Am I my brother's keeper? You know, with siblings, I think that plays out every single day. And the answer is always yes and no. So there's a really interesting dynamic you bring up, Jacob, that where the only reason you're still alive is because of me. And also the only reason you're still alive is to protect me. I think there's a really interesting dynamic, particularly if it's maybe the younger sibling now who's coming back, because that throws off the entire power dynamic. You know, you have a younger sister, so you have that feeling of protection. What if suddenly your sister comes back and is like, I will go to the ends of the earth. I will set the world ablaze if it means keeping you safe. So, it's like, wow.
So the funny thing is, I actually have 4 siblings, and now I'm going to think about, what if all 4 of them came back and were like, yeah, I'm going to protect you for X, Y, Z. I'm going to be like, what's going on?
Right. So I think that's interesting, because there was a dynamic in my life where growing up where that was a very unique thing that happened. My grandparents were married for years and years and years, and my grandfather developed kidney failure about 10 years before he passed away. And my grandmother was always the keeper. She was always the keeper. Well, about 4 years before my grandfather passed away, my grandmother had a major stroke, and that shift had to happen. And it was interesting because it seemed like that dynamic, because they had been together for 50 some years, the dynamic didn't feel different, but at the same time, it was very interesting to watch that dynamic shift. And I could see that same mentality of somebody who's older and younger be that same way. it's like, oh no, I've always protected you. This is my job. And then it's like, I can't anymore. And now you're doing it because I can't protect myself.
You guys are going to make me think about this way too much.
Sunday dinner's going to be weird.
Okay, so
dinners,
because not everybody knows this about me, but we'll throw it out there. So I have 2 older siblings from my mom and 2 younger siblings from my dad.
Oh, interesting.
So my dynamic in a family is that on one side I'm the youngest, on the other side I'm the oldest. At different times I've felt like the only child, the middle child, and everything else in between.
No wonder you're a GM.
Exactly. But to also think like in some way, if my siblings were ever to come back as reverence and go, I'll protect you, to also look at each other and go, you're the enemy. No, you're the enemy.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
No. Yeah.
And they're like, I feel like on both sides it would be like, until they both accept each other as family, then I would have 4 reverence that I would be running around. I'd be like, damn it, what do I do?
Constantly at odds. Oh, that's so funny. I love that.
And then they would just keep killing each other, but none of the 4 could die.
Just keep coming back.
So you're just the one in the middle having to deal with this. Talk about the emotional trauma from that end.
Oh my gosh.
As one character.
And I don't even know if it would be that bad for me. If Eleanor's my GM, I mean, obviously. I don't even think I would say, hey, are we playing the game tonight? I'd be like, therapy tonight.
Yeah, pretty much. That's on the menu. Like, I tell my players, talking is a free action and crying comes with the territory.
Yes.
Yeah, I always tell people crying is a free action. But no, this has been a great conversation on the Revenant. I hope those that are watching are going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe use it better than Dungeons and Dragons does, because revenge is not the only way to use a Revenant.
How do you flavor revenge?
Yeah, that's true.
That's what you do.
That's what you do. That's how you flavor revenge, the way we do. But this is an opportunity for you as a guest here in the tavern to ask those questions. What is the hard question that you're dealing with at a table? Maybe it's how to deal with somebody. Maybe it is, I don't know where I want my character to go. Maybe it's, I don't know what monster to use next week. It doesn't matter what it is. You can drop it in the chat room here and we'll answer the question. In the meantime, while we're waiting, though, Jacob,
good. I got a great question.
Pick my brain. What you got?
Reverent, right?
Yeah.
From the future.
Ooh. Oh, like a Terminator situation, or
sort of. But their one wish is, I would just like to eat something with sprinkles.
Ooh, there.
But they haven't been invented yet.
They haven't been invented.
So now you're like,
they're from the past.
Yeah, so now they're playing up to no, they have to be from the future so they know about sprinkles.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. So that's what they're on
so
there.
Almost like an isekai where you're like you're pulling somebody from one area and putting in,
It's like the adventure.
You mentioned the samurai. You mentioned the samurai, and maybe it's a samurai from like future Japan. He comes back. He's like, man, I'm going to protect everybody on this road, but I would sure love to have some dongo with sprinkles on top of it.
There you go. Completely. I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Adventure Zone, but taco, inventing the taco was his quest. And then I got transported to our real world so that he could learn how to make a taco.
Oh my god.
So here,
I have a game that is now called the one that you're a part of, kind of sort of.
Kind of sort of. How does that happen?
It's been quoted as Tacos and Tells, even though it's supposed to be Elminster's library.
Yeah.
Because I pull actually things from our world in it. So there's a guy that they got Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Ran out, got stepped on by a suit of living armor on half of his body. So he's half cyborg, kind of sort of warforged.
Okay.
And the day that the party comes in, he's like, I just need a little taste of home, and he makes a taco.
Nice.
But it was the last like spices that he had with him and everything else in his bag. Well, when he did it and he explained it, one of the characters had one of the little things of the pastel things that when you paint with them, it actually creates whatever it is. So one of the guys goes, "I've had a taco now," so he draws tacos for every new member that comes to the party, and they get a taco. And I was like, weird way to have tacos introduced into the world, but I love it.
Yeah, but tacos are like a staple when it comes to at-home gaming tables anyways, so
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's so easy to eat.
But the funny thing is, and I'll say this because a handful of people know, and I think I brought it up on when we had Delta Dice on. One of the players actually paid somebody that makes dice, and I have a set that they sent me that has a little taco mini in it, and the resin, they actually mixed it with taco seasoning, so it's got this weird brownish red hue.
Oh, how interesting!
Yeah,
does it smell at all? Does the smell come through? Because I know there are
No,
some,
it doesn't
dice
smell.
that do have smells to them.
I kind of feel like it would, but it doesn't.
So
Yeah.
there's going to be, I know there's a table at Gen Con this year that will have the smelly dice. We need to talk to them about how do we get a taco dice?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because they have like campfire and they have forest and they have the alchemy lab, which is a
Yeah.
really interesting
How
one.
long does this smell for?
Yeah. How much
Oh, yeah,
much
that's
is it
the
gonna cost me to
thing.
make the smell?
Like how mixed in is it, or is it just a spray that they put on the outside like a cheap candle
Yeah.
instead of actually being like mixed into the wax?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but like I know a buddy of mine bought a set like 2 years ago, and that thing still smells as if you opened it up tomorrow. It's crazy. Okay, so we've got our first question tonight, and it seems like somebody from your crew, Eleanor.
Yes, my neck of the woods.
Bert Booger Hooks.
Infamous.
The infamous Bert Booger Hooks. He says, who's your favorite NPC in An End to Hunger?
God, I got a lot. I really love them. Probably legit, yeah. I would say probably my favorite major NPC probably is Radia Vidira. For some reasons that when I come back in a while, once more story has happened, we can talk about in more detail. But that is a character who has had many iterations in my life. The character type that she was actually started life in a fan fiction that I made with my college roommate about a certain wizarding school that we don't talk about. And she and I both made original characters because we thought that would be more fun, to tie us into the world and into everything going on. So the character that I created there was actually a siren, which I had my own take on, of course. And because those characters hadn't been introduced in that world, they had Vila, which are similar, and I think are in Dungeons and Dragons. They're definitely in Pathfinder, the Vila. So my own take on sirens, and then years later, when I was playing a home game, one of the characters wanted to take the poisoner archetype, so I had to come up with an NPC mentor. And I thought back to that character because she had worked with a certain poison master or the poison teacher who we don't talk about. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. And because she was a siren, the plague doctor mask, the sirens for in my story were like these oversized, like raven kind of characters. And so I was like, oh, the plague doctor mask, perfect. And then the green coat and everything. And if you're starting to think, if you've watched An End to Hunger, you're like, that doesn't sound like Radia, that sounds like Odessa. It is. So Odessa Blackfingers in An End to Hunger actually originally started as an NPC in one of my other games based on this Odessa character from my fan fiction. And then as I started to write An End to Hunger, I realized later in creating Radia how many parallels there were back to that Odessa. So it's crazy that in An End to Hunger, you actually have two NPCs who have the same genesis point in my brain here.
Nice.
So Roddy is probably my number one. Of the more minor NPCs, I think Kolak of White Pine is probably my favorite. He's a very strong, quiet force in the narrative. Takes his duty as a protector very seriously, while at the same time being in kind of a marginalized community. So he has tremendous authority over a section of the population, but doesn't really have any sort of his clout comes from his position, not from the sort of authority that he has within his ethnic group, which are the Kellid people, because the End to Hunger is set within the Pathfinder universe. Every time he's able to come in, I really love it to provide this quiet guy, and he doesn't really have a ton of he's a very selfless kind of guy. He's not selfishly motivated pretty much at all, and I don't say that in like a virtuous way. That's just kind of how he's built. He's an asexual character, arrow ace character, so a lot of the pitfalls and the trappings that that some of us tend to fall into just because of the things that drive us, he doesn't really have that. So he's able to form connections and relationships with people really based on who they are inside, and what he can provide to them just as much as what they provide into his life. So every time I'm able to bring Kolak out, and NPCs will look for Kolak, they sense that in him, even if they don't know him that well. They sense it from him, which I really appreciate that that's able to be transmitted by the way I play him.
So I'm impressed, and I'm going to state that real quick, and then we're going to jump into Burt Booger's next question.
Oh, he's got more.
He does. I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but we're going to ask it anyways.
Please.
Question I have, and it's been a problem that I've had for many, many years, and it's one of my downfalls as a GM, is how do you or where do you come up with names?
A lot of different places. It's so funny. Bert is quite infamous. I will send some of our IRL friends, like, have you seen that top 10 Gooby Woobies? I've sent that to all my friends with this, and the only message is just Bert names, because he's the king of that. No, when it comes to names, there are many different avenues that you can take. I do really love, and Pathfinder does this a lot, is they'll take a name that's normal and then scooch it a little bit. So you'll have NPCs, Wendelin, which is a twisting of Gwendolyn, and her sister Lisavette, which is a twisting of Elizabeth. So I really, really love doing that, taking names that are somewhat normal. Like we just had, there's a dead NPC, like a NPC from history, and Tristane is their name, so it's a twist on Tristan. But yeah, that's generally how I do it, and then also really trying to think regionally. That's the nice thing, I think, working within the Lost Omens setting, is because there is so much history there. A lot of times what I'll do is just like look at some of the NPCs that are from the particular region, and then switch the names around, change some letters around, or I'll look up names from an analogous like real world language, and I'll take one of those and scooch it. But no, I think names are incredibly important, because sometimes you'll make a Hero Forge character, and I love to do that. Or you'll find reference art or something, but the players don't really see that, necessarily. They see you. So choosing a name that is evocative of what you want that character to be. So I would say if you have difficulty choosing names, think about how you want the players to feel when they think about that character. Like Kolak of White Pine, that sounds like, okay, this person is important. The of gives a sense of like, it's not a last, and it's not a last name. it's a place. And the Kolak is strong. Radia Vidira, it is melodious and soft and feels a little bit old. Odessa, very mysterious. She has no last name, and when you ask her, she'll say, "My people, we designate ourselves in ways that would make no sense to you." So that also. So yeah, that's when I'm coming up with names. Those are my major things that I'm thinking about.
Cool. I do that too, where you do the little twist.
Oh, love it.
One of the biggest things that was so weird wasn't how to change the spelling and all that, but how to do the pronunciation.
Yes.
And one of my coworkers loves Key and Peele.
Uh-huh.
And if you've ever seen it, where Peele is the inner city teacher.
Yeah, the
Aaron.
Yes. Yeah, Aaron.
So good.
D nice. All that other stuff. I was like, it doesn't necessarily have to be how you made it. It can be how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then just change it from there. I mean, it's a pretty crazy thing.
So going back to another Bert question.
Okay.
Who's Radia's least favorite PC?
Oh gosh, that's tough. From this campaign or from the last campaign? The last campaign that we did, I'll start there, I think, to give myself more time. The last campaign that we did, one of the PCs actually was a necromancer. And he was very much interested in matchmaking Radia with another one of the party members.
Oh.
And because he's a crazy person, his idea to do that was to raise a bunch of skeletons on the Vidira Manor lawn while the other party member was over for a lovely dinner and some conversation, so that he would then come out and be the valiant hero.
Oh, no.
It went horribly. They ended up being, the church ended up calling in an inquisitor. He was told to leave for the night. He was not allowed to stay. So probably, yeah, he's my least. And still she saved him from getting tortured. So that's my girl. That shows you the kind of character that Radia has. Honestly, in this iteration, fortunately, everybody has been respectful. I will say, if there is a PC that makes her the most nervous or scares her the most or makes her the most wary, that would be our thaumaturge, Scenes of Khan, who is also the PC that she is closest to currently. So make of that what you will. No spoilers.
Ooh. You heard it here. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Don't tell my players. No, I'm kidding. They probably have suspected that already.
All right. Jacob, you got any?
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know, Jacob?
There's so much I want to know. So much I want to know.
I believe you.
So my coworker has played for a little while, and he threw it out to me. He goes, if there was a class in Pathfinder, what would you want to take, like, to get your adventure started? I was like, Summoner, and I guess it turned into what's called like a Eldamon, some
Eidolon.
Yeah. He's like, that's probably what you would want. And I was like, is it? I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So Summoners actually just are entering the remastered chat. So Impossible Magic is coming out in association with Gen Con, so you can purchase Impossible Magic. So there are 2 new classes coming out in Impossible Magic. There's the Runesmith, and the Necromancer now officially has. So the Necromancer I was talking about before, he was using the playtest rules.
He's getting a buff. now,
Yeah,
baby.
Or,
Yeah,
or he's
exactly.
getting a nerf, depending on how.
We'll see. But yeah, because shockingly, Paizo allows players to play test and give feedback. Who knew? So those are coming new, and then the Magus, or actually, I believe it's Magus, is the official way to pronounce it. Magus and the Summoner are being moved into the remaster. So yes, the Summoner is a very cool class within the Pathfinder world. The Pathfinder universe, not to get too lore heavy on you, because I could. But essentially, what we see as the material plane, or what we call the universe, is only one of many planes. Think about it as an onion. So you have the material plane, the universe is in here. And then we have the elemental planes ringing around it like that. So if you pull out far enough, what you see is this giant burning sun. That's the plane of fire. And within the plane of fire is all of these other planes. And then we have the outer planes. So you have the ethereal plane, which is where the River of Souls leads to. So that is the march of souls into the next life. Souls are then reforged into ethereal beings. Some retain their memories, most do not, etc. There's a positive energy plane, the Creation's Forge, and then there's the Void, which is where negative energy comes from, and they're on opposite poles, etc. So suffice it to say, there are lots of different places where there are creatures other than mortals. So what a summoner can do is a summoner can make a connection to one of these creatures on one of these other planes. The connection that they forge with a living mortal in the universe changes them. When they make their impression into the universe, they become what's known as an eidolon. So whatever they are in that other plane, they become an eidolon. They retain some of their traits and capacities that they had before, but now they're essentially starting from zero. It's a really interesting parallel to being born, where you start at level 1 with your summoner, and together you grow in power. Summoners also, action economy is very huge for summoners. We have some characters have animal companions, some have familiars, things like that. We have 3 actions that we get to work with when we move into combat for Pathfinder. Minions have 2. So essentially, you have to give up one of your actions to command your minion. So even if you have a familiar, even if you have an animal companion or a minion or a follower or something like that, you still only have a pool of 4 actions to play with. So what the summoner has is the ability called Act Together. And this is a way that you and your eidolon can do different things in tandem without you having to spend an action to command them. It's like a agreed upon set of moves. You have some eidolons that act in melee. Some eidolons are literally people. They're called phantoms. So it's essentially just like a person who has moved on to the River of Souls before they've been judged. And they're like, it's almost Revenant-like. They're like, I actually have, I'd like to come back, please. So they come back as a Revenant. And then you have, many, many others. You'll have some that, take bestial forms or dragon forms or spooky undead forms. There's lots of different things. So some of them are good in melee. Some of them are good in ranged. I think most classes work better in melee mid-range than full range. This is another reason why strength is actually not the dump stat in Pathfinder. I'll tell you which ability score is the dump stat in Pathfinder, but it's not strength, which is a bit of a culture shock to people playing rogues or dex fighters. And I said, what do you mean I need to put 1 point in strength? It's like, no, you actually do need that. Very much so.
Interesting.
How lore have you? How you feel, Jacob? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Got something.
Hope I answered your question.
I mean, this is just kind of we're marching up the mountain to the point where I'm gonna have to be like, I need a one shot, please. And a character create in a episode 0, so
in episode 0, so I can create a character.
create a character, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
I love building characters. We did a charity one shot back in February to support Cheerla on the Harlequin's Hallowed Hearth channel, and I literally just built everybody's character because I was like, "Don't worry about it." I think we were playing at level 7. So I'm like, whatever. So I wrote down a sort of a personality blurb. I made 6 of them. And I said, how do you like to play? What sort of persona appeals to you? And then the way I built each character reflected their persona, which is another thing that I really love about Pathfinder, is the ability to create iconoclastic characters and to have the personality of the character really show up in the way that you build and how you interact with the world socially as well as in combat.
I love that. Have you ever, this sounds very nerdy, have you ever timed yourself doing that?
No, but I probably could bang it out really quick. Honestly, Path Builder is huge in the community. If you're not familiar with what that is, pathbuilder.com is a one-man band. It's a D&D Beyond style character builder. It is free to use. Pay a one-time fee per device. You get access to all those features, but I believe you get access to everything rule-wise and content-wise without having to pay, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Red Razors has a Patreon, which you can support. But yeah, that makes it incredibly easy. Just like D&D Beyond is when you build characters. I wouldn't make a 5e character unless I was using D&D Beyond. I wouldn't make a Pathfinder character without using Path Builder. And it really is for new players essential, I think. And Dawn is our newest player in An End to Hunger. And she said, I think the last recording session we had, she was like, I don't even think I'd be able to wrap my head around this if I didn't have, my character sheet interactable in this way.
That's funny. That's one of the things too that I try and do, is because I hate how part of the stuff gets laid out the way it is. And not only that, but D&D Beyond has moved like 3 different times for different sites, and I've paid for different ones, and I'm like, I'm not doing it again.
True.
To build certain characters.
Yeah, I don't have a paid version of D&D Beyond. I don't play 5e enough to support that.
So I learned how to do it all by hand, and I had a one shot that somebody else was doing. They said, "Hey, can you do characters?" And I said, "You care what they are or anything?" "No, whatever." So they said, "Okay, well, we have 4 people playing, including you. Make whatever you want, and then just 3 randos."
Yeah.
So in about a 30-minute thing, I pumped out 10 characters.
Yeah, nice.
I brought them all with me, and I actually was like going through finding like images on the phone, and we're like, all right, this is what I imagine this guy to look like. This is his backstory. While we were sitting there, and I was like, who do you want to pick to play? And people were like, oh, that guy sounds really cool. I'll play that guy. Ooh, I want that. And I was like, I'm glad I could like come up to make this stuff, but it's out of the envy of, I hate having to rely on a system to build a character for me and me not know exactly what it's doing.
Sure. No, I completely understand that. Character creation is something that I started from the very beginning doing. That's one of the things that kind of made me fall in love with the lore, was because the Pathfinder character creation process is so tied into the lore of Lost Omens. You can't help but learn at least a little about the world as you're building the character, particularly when it comes to like backgrounds.
Yeah. Heck yeah. What? Yeah, there's just so much. See, in the game that I used to akin Pathfinder to was old school Vampire and like World of Darkness. Because to me, like when you actually made those things, you started out as a human being. You put your points into things like, I want to do this, but I want to do karate. I want to do martial arts. Well, not only do I want to do karate, I'm also putting points into doing taekwondo, things like that. And when you went into other things, you expanded it out. And that, to me, my first kind of taste of what I got to experience of Pathfinder 1E was kind of that way of things of,
Yes, putting your points in.
do
your
you
skills.
want this? You want to be able to use a spear? Yeah. Do you want to use a sword, or are we good with a spear? I'll use a sword too. All right. You want to use them both together? And how do you allocate all these different points to different systems? You know, do you want to use your spear for multi attack? What do you want?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
completely. You really get to customize. I remember the second 1E character that I made for Rise of the Rune Lords. I did an investigator, and the way investigator works, the potential feats that you can choose, you have this pool of like I forget the term of it, but they start as D6s, and you can use them for whatever you want. You can use them for combat, you can use them out of combat, whatever. They're essentially just like this pool of adding to the roll.
Mhm.
And there are different feats that you can take, for the character. So all the skills, the laundry list of skills, they've been condensed for 2E, but the laundry list of skills that you had for 1E, they're broken down into 3 different categories, suites of skills. And if you took the feat, you could roll the D6 for free on any of those. So what ended up happening is so I took those feats. So even though I didn't have, the special combat feats, I was holding all my pips. So when it came time to fight, I could use them for that and spend that to do the extra damage. And then out of combat, I knew everything. Like the first roll that we did, they showed us the Sahedron medallion, which they'd been carrying. Like they were level 7 by the time I started. They were like at the end of book 2. And they've been carrying the Sahedron medal for like a zillion years. And then I rock up and I roll. And at that point, I'd upgraded them to D8s at that point. So I roll my D20 with like my plus 13 and my D8, everything. And I said, yeah, I got a 35. Is that good? And the GM looked at me like he wanted to hug me. He's like, finally. And he opens this folder, he flips through and he pulls out the sheet that explains what the Sahedron medal is.
my gosh.
And finally got to tell the party what they've been carrying this whole time. It was incredible. Yeah.
That's huge commitment right there.
Yeah.
I've been carrying this thing for 10 years out of game.
10 years out of
What's
game,
going
just
on?
waiting for somebody to finally roll high enough for me to give them this.
Somebody with a brain. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that character was wild. I equate 1E characters, they're very difficult to translate into 2E. You almost have to use the free archetype variant rule, which many GMs do, in order to make a character of analogous power to a 1E character. But yeah, like the crafting system was nuts. Like I made so much crap for my party. Like I'm talking like silver salves and special bolts. I had so many poisons. I'm not kidding. Like I made bombs. We had the ranger wizard had an animal companion who is a bat, Bitey Jim. Bitey Jim, yes. And whenever we had to go somewhere fancy, we would put a ruffle collar on him and only call him Mandible James, because that was his fancy noble name. And so he looked at me when I was saying I could do all this stuff. He's like, "You mean I can fly on Bitey Jim and like throw bombs at people?" And I said, "What bombs do you want?"
What do you want?
Just give me the gold. I had a whole spreadsheet of like all the different things that I made the gold cost. There was a nasty poison in 1E. I think it's called Dragon's Bile. If you fail the initial saving throw, that's it. You get no additional saving throws. And I hit the what is it? Hobgoblin, this Hobgoblin commander, who I got double crit by 2 of his minions. So I was at 2 HP and I load this Dragon Bile bolt in and I hit this guy and I spent a hero point to make him like make the DC 10 higher. So it was a DC 36. Failed it. And I said, okay, every round you're going to be taking 1d4 strength damage. And he said, "What's the save?" And I said, "There is no save." So this dude literally after like 4 rounds of combat, because the place was crawling with hobgoblins. So literally after 4 rounds of combat, this fool is like Normandy Beach the armor has become too heavy for him. He's like elbowing, just trying to escape. And I come over him because I have my little pea shooter. My hand crossbows are awful in 1E. They've made them better for 2E. Now they're 1D6. They were 1D4 in 1E. And I point my pea shooter at him because he laughed at me and said, so small. And then double critted me with his heavy crossbowmen. And I looked at him. I said, so small.
Oh my god!
Took him out. And then I took one of those heavy crossbows. I took his nose ring out, his gold nose ring. They were all worshippers of Hagenti. And I had that melted down, and I plated the side of the heavy crossbow with the gold from his nose ring. And that was my signature weapon for the rest of the game.
I love that.
Old war stories. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
I mean, everybody's got to have them though. One of the things that's really funny for me that I love doing is when people give me things, or if I can randomly pick something up, I will use it later on. So my changeling is in a Hell's campaign, and come to find out, our DM was running like 4 other games besides ours. And one of the guys had gotten this little jar of this moss that we knew had made myconids.
Yeah.
And so it was in this little jar, and it was this moss that tried to grow. And we got to a point like maybe 3 or 4 sessions later, and I go, hey, like I know at the share house thingy that we have, like there's a big hookah. I would like to stick that in the hookah.
Okay. Oh, you want to get possessed.
Well, so a year later, out of game, a year later, we find out what actually came out of that. And it was every other campaign that they were running had to deal with basically like the Last of Us little plant zombie guys. Because we weren't on the same plane when that stuff was going down.
Incredible.
Now I have a flask of some kind of poison that's, or not a flask. I have a water skin of some kind of poison that I'm waiting to see what I can do with it. Nice. And everybody's like, you changed this world so dramatically. And I was like, I think that's what my character was made for. Creating new worlds out of another person's campaign.
I see things in the smoke, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Saw all of it early.
My favorite thing so far, though, with that is we had to do something where our name was on a list. My character's name's just Entity. So I walk up to the person and I was like, yes, we're here. Our group's called the Enterprise. I was like, yeah, we're here. We're part of the Enterprise. It should be under Entity, the. Okay? And that's what it is. And everybody stops. And I'm like, guys, like, come on, we can keep role playing. And they all started busting out laughing. They were like, the? I was like, the Entity. I mean, come on.
You respect the nomenclature of the land, the naming conventions. You abide by them as much as you can.
Yeah.
We have that in one of our tables. Our Power Rangers game. One of the characters' name is Delore. It's the lore. It's all the lore.
Incredible.
And he's the most knowledgeable one in the system too. But it was just funny to hear that.
Was that your character in that one?
No, that's Ark's character.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to be like Ark's child and be called Ian. Put it together.
Yeah.
DeLorean.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, get out of here. And with that, we're actually at our time for the night, which this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Eleanor, for joining us tonight here in the tavern.
Thank you for having me.
I had a great time. Real quick, let everybody know, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So you can find me every Wednesday on the Harlequin's Hallowed Hearth YouTube channel. We do live streams once a month, and then we edit those into weekly videos for you to consume. We also are doing plot compilations along the way. So if you want to get a taste of what An End to Hunger is without devoting 13 hours, you can watch the Arc 1 plot compilation there. You can also see me with Sam from Tabletop Misfits every other week doing Curse of LeStrahd, which is a 5e game with some Vampire the Masquerade elements. I play Lucille Gordon, who is a wild magic sorcerer. We did our second episode yesterday, the first episode that I was able to join because I had been wrapping up the last caravan, If Tomorrow Never Comes, for StoryToldRPG the week before. So we have 4 more episodes of that to go. And then I will continue to appear on the Bad Ideas until February of 2027. Actually, I have 2 shows coming up. So love to chat with you about those in the future. But we're doing an Orbital Blues campaign and an Old Gods of Appalachia campaign. So you'll see me as a performer in each of those. But that's for the future. Right now, I would love everybody to check out An End to Hunger. It's a really fabulous story. The players have been adoring it, which is, what more can you ask for as a creative, for people to, appreciate and really trying to get, the most juice out of your world as possible. So I hope you check it out and love it at least half as much as we've loved making it.
Awesome. Well, Jacob always loves this part. He gets it ready right away. This is last call here on Tavern Talks. Thank you once again, Eleanor, for coming to hang out with us tonight. Check out the rest of our shows on tabletopmisfits.com or on all of our social medias. If you haven't hit that follow button, please do so. Come hang out with us, as all of our shows are this coming week as we drop them. And come back next week to find out who the next guest is here in the tavern. Until then, enjoy yourselves. Hope you have a wonderful week. And please stick around real quick while we go raid some friends. Talk to you guys soon. Good night.